And now it's 2 weeks on from the planning committee hearing. The furore surrounding Mitcham Bridge continues to rumble on. Our reporter, Stephen Menon, sat down with the head of Watermeads Residents Association and a member who wanted to remain anonymous. What follows is a clip of their interview. Keep your eyes peeled for the first ever Ripple Effect podcast, which will feature this interview in full, plus more new information about the Mitcham Bridge situation.
Yeah, I'm Simon Edgell. I'm the chair of the Watermeads Residents Association, which is 2 streets, Octavia Close, Rawnsley Avenue. It's 187 dwellings here, and we're actually right attached to the park here, right onto the river and the lake here. So that's me.
So if I could just ask, what are your objections to the current plans for the bridge, or what have members of your association been telling you are their objections to the current plans for the bridge?
Well, I mean, I know that a lot of work was done on this prior to my involvement. I was a latecomer to this. Essentially, all I did was I sent in a series of objections, observations to the Planning Commission. And they were. I was aware already that various groups had done objections around environmental impact on the trees, the flora and fauna of that area. But I focused more acutely on the effect on the residents of the estate. So that was the core of it. From our point of view, there are not just our estate actually, but another estate, a string of about a dozen houses look directly onto this wall that will come down, and there are somewhere over 50 families that will be directly affected by this. So you could probably round that up, and you could say some are flats, some are houses. So it's no less than 200 people.
Sure.
And so these people are probably, I don't know, no more than 50, at the furthest, no more than 50 paces from the wall that will come down, which means that they're no more than 50 paces from the new fence and the road. So you're looking at a decline in air quality. You're looking at much more noise getting onto the estate. You're looking at the fact that the estate is no longer, in a sense, secluded. And in the past, if people are now concerned about the risk of crime on that strip of the path that's already there, well, you can increase that now because it will attract people onto the estate. We don't have many burglaries on this estate, but now back to those houses and flats will all be visible. It's an area where children play, and parents feel comfortable that the kids can play out there because it's a secluded area and they can keep an eye on them. That will go as well. So, those are the areas. Sorry.
I was just going to say, what did the council say when you raised these objections?
They didn't. Basically, they're not taking note. And I think, you see, that what's happened, my involvement on this really is, essentially, I put my observations in, and I didn't really expect to hear very much about that. But then I got a call from the planning department who wanted to meet me. On site, because the other point I raised here was that this is a conservation area. The entire estate is a conservation area. All the green stuff around it is a conservation area, and that actually includes the boundaries as well, including this wall. And I think because I was, I'll read you a list in a minute of the various organisations that have made objections to this. You're probably familiar with most of them already, but I think my objections were probably the first objections that were based primarily around the impact it would have on residents. And I think, therefore, they felt obliged to meet me, partly because of that, and partly because it's a conservation area. So we met a couple of Saturdays ago. We met on the bridge. I met a guy called James McGinley with one of his colleagues, and expressed the concerns. He showed me a plan. I was with another resident whose property will back onto the that does back onto where the wall is at the moment. I can't give you his name because I haven't discussed that with him. And essentially, we looked at the plan and we said, this is different from what we've seen already. This is different from what we were shown, because they were starting to talk about the cycle tracks. He said, yes, we've changed it. So we looked at this, and essentially they were telling us how nice it would be. It was very much a PR exercise. We raised our concerns, and they said, well, we're sorry, but this is the only way to get these cycle tracks in is for you to lose the wall. We talked about the fact that this would leave the estate exposed, both in terms of the wildlife and also the residents. And we talked about a new planting plan that would act as some kind of screen. I asked them at that point if they would spend more money than they were considering by more mature planting. They offered to look into it. As I walked away, I talked about this, and then I started to think about what I'd been told, the fact that actually, although I kind of accepted what they said about the wall, I then became baffled by what they said about the fact that there wasn't going to be any dedicated pedestrian footway. And once I realised that, the odder and odder the whole thing seemed. And actually, having realised that, I thought to myself, well, why are we taking the wall down? So, that's it really. That's where I am with it.
Sure. So,
I mean, I'm obviously in touch with a bunch of local groups. What else can I tell you? What else do I need to say? Can you think of that I've left?
Just that some of the trees that they're proposing to take down are known to be good at absorbing air pollution. There's a couple that were, I think, on their sort of tree, when they did their tree survey. Yeah, there's a few, and that's again a concern that I think this particular type of tree. Out of I think it's 23 that are...
Yeah, 23 trees. There are 23 trees that will come down. Yeah. I mean, I will say, Stephen, that I received, I think the day before, on the day of the planning meeting, it was last week, is it last week? Last week planning meeting?
2 weeks.
Is it 2 weeks ago? I copied more concerns to our local ward councillors. I got a call from one of them, and they were pointing out actually that residents were very keen for this work to go ahead. And I'm not sure what that's based on, because someone has sent me, actually it's a transcript of a conversation that you had on your show. Basically, it's a local businessman talking about the fact that he feels, this is on the 23rd of October. This is a local businessman that feels he was railroaded into signing a document without being fully aware of its implications.